Hello again. Welcome to another episode of RPM Flows with Dr. G. Thank you for being patient with me, as it's been over a month since I've done a podcast. So looking forward to this one. Today's topic is about cultural resilience, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And before we jump into defining what it is, integrating some quotes from some of my favorite authors, and then define your flow moment that's very personal for me. And then how do we integrate or enhance cultural resilience in our daily lives? And then there'll be a closing summary. Before we do all that, why don't we take a moment to do as Coda's doing, just for a few moments. As you notice, there she is again. She's in recharge mode. So why don't we take a deep breath and do our salute. I honor and salute the divinity in you. So, as I mentioned, let's first define what is cultural resilience. The way I like to look at it's, in essence, finding ways to reflect on what you were taught, the values, beliefs, attitudes, customs, but also the ability to draw strength, healing, and purpose from your cultural identity, your traditions, and your ancestral memories, even in the face of trauma, hardship, or systemic injustice. So it's not just about surviving adversity, it's about transmuting it into wisdom, into expression and agency. It is resilience that echoes across generations, and I hope that no matter what background you have, you're able to pass on your traditions, your memories, lived experiences to your children or to your loved ones, who then can learn from that wisdom and pass that wisdom down to the next generation. So remember, the Tao Te Ching reminds us, what is firmly rooted cannot be pulled out. What is tightly held cannot be taken. Cultural resilience is that root, that which holds even when the storms come. So let that sit with you for a few seconds. It's that which holds when the storms come. And many of us face different kinds of storms, but I like how that definition really brings a more holistic perspective on cultural resilience. Now, there are some other quotes that I want to read to you and have you utilize as food for thought. So, one of my favorite authors was a poet. His name was Rumi, and he once said, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you." Cultural resilience invites us to flow with the rhythm of change, not by abandoning who we are, but by deepening into who we are. And that, I think, is how we adapt as culturally resilient individuals, because we have the roots that helped us get to where we are today. Now, some of those roots we may discard, cut off, and decide they don't really serve us anymore. But it doesn't mean that we're static human beings. We continue to live, we continue to breathe and grow. And as we experience new things, meet new people, go to new places, there's going to be opportunities to adopt other ways of understanding the world. And so that can then be, you plant those seeds to begin those roots, to add to what is already there with respect to your background in your cultural understanding and cultural resilience. Now, Brian Stevenson, the founder of Equal Justice Initiative, teaches us that we are all more than the worst thing we've ever done. And if you ever have a chance to go to Alabama, I believe it's Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken. I took my family down there when I was on my way to we were on our way to my best friend's wedding in New Orleans a few years back, and we stopped in Alabama. I mentioned, I believe it's Birmingham. It's where the Equal Justice Initiative is housed, and I highly recommend stopping there and just walking around, just getting a feel for the place. It's a great museum, but it has a lot of great books, things that you can discuss with your family about human rights and the dignity of all. He speaks to the dignity that culture can restore when a system tries to strip us down to statistics or stereotypes, no matter who you are or what your background is. Now, Ibram Kendi invites us into the practice of anti-racism, which is not necessarily a destination, but it's daily work. The only way to undo racism is to consistently identify and describe it, and then dismantle it. Cultural resilience requires this clarity. It demands that we see systems clearly while also nourishing the soul of who we are as human beings. And lastly, as Buddha reminds us, in the end, only three things really matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Let me repeat that. It's beautiful. In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, you live with kindness, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. So that's that idea of not attaching to things or thoughts or people or events that just hold you in or keep you in a very pressurized emotional and psychological state. Because culture teaches us how to love, how to live, and sometimes what to release. So now I want to transition into the Find Your Flow moment for this episode. And again, this is from my book I published a few years back, Abandoned to PhD, Integrating Meaning and Resilience in Everyday Life. Recently, I've been reflecting on a moment in my own journey. I remember being about 8 years old. I was standing, this was soon after I had been adopted at age 8, and it was, I believe, the fall of '87. And I was standing in my classroom in Maryland at my elementary school, in second grade, newly adopted, learning English, trying to remember who I had to be that day to fit in. I didn't know much English still. I had only really been in the States since June, I believe, of that year, so maybe 2.5 months at the most. But what I carried with me, and what I still carry, is the inner rhythm of Costa Rica, where I'm from. In my heartbeat, the wisdom of my ancestors, in my intuition, and the silent strength of my birth mother's sacrifice. Now that's cultural resilience. It's not loud, it's not always visible, but it's persistent, sacred, unbreakable. I think it's important for us, especially those who are from other countries, other lands, it's really important for us to not forget where we come from and who we are down at the core, because the roots are planted. And if we pretend that those roots are not there, or they're not as important, or they don't matter as much as they used to, then I think that can lead us to having a lot of cultural angst and existential angst. Who are we really want? And what makes meaning for me culturally. So that year, 1987 to 1988, it was a whirlwind of trying to fit in, but also recognizing I'm not from here. And this is something I still struggle with today, because I don't necessarily feel like I belong in the US sometimes. And then when I do go back to Costa Rica, I also feel that same sense of alienation, that I don't really belong there, even though that's where I was born. So it's a strange place to be this human being between two different worlds, knowing you don't really pertain to either. But what I try to do is still bring out the best of what I've learned from my Costa Rican self, the roots there, roots that have grown since I've been in the US. And how do I combine those roots together to work, to make them work for me in a culturally resilient way. So how do we nurture cultural resilience in this day and age? I think some things we can do are to listen to the stories of our grandparents, elders, uncles, aunts, find ways to archive those stories in our hearts, or write them down, make notes, voice, because those will carry on a tradition that will bring a lot of meaning to your ancestors down the line. Practicing our traditions, not as nostalgia, but as a form of rebirth. Also, we create spaces where culture isn't just tolerated, it's celebrated. One of the things I'm most proud of with our practice is that our vision is to become one of the most authentic, empowering, inclusive, and inspiring helping agencies in the world. And that means we really want anyone to feel welcome here. And I have experienced feeling unwelcomed. My family has. I have some friends who have, clients that with or that our other colleagues work with. So how do we, be the change you want to see? So I want for everyone to be able to feel welcome and included, no matter what your background, national origin, orientation, language, gender, etc. And so I'm hoping that in my own way, our practice, our mission and vision is helping to create that in the world. So closing reflection, as we wrap up, remember this, that culture is not passive, it is active, it's alive, it's your veins in this very moment. It is you living with purpose, rooted in your lineage, and free to bloom and inspire others to bloom as well. Let your identity be your armor, your culture be your compass, and your healing be your gift to generation. Because as we explore ourselves and our roots, we also heal in that process. So until next time, let your life's flow be purposeful and free on RPM Flows with Dr. G. Peace out. Oh, last thought before we close. I honor and salute the divinity in you. Thank you for watching. Until next time.